link, but I guess there isn't any for this, right?
All right.
I do have a conflict. It's just bad timing, but I have a 9:30 court hearing that I have to be at. So do I just leave when I need to leave?
You still, Dave Christian is a trained member.
Yep.
So, Larry and Dave will be on there. What constitutes your quorum?
I'm also
Three.
certified.
Three? Yep.
Okay, so we have you.
And I'm also certified.
Dave, Larry and Andrea, Dave, and Larry.
So you have your three.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Dave and Andrea are trained.
So am I.
Oh, and Larry is too. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So should I just sit out today maybe then? I don't know if that'll be more of a mess with me jumping in and out.
That is up to the board.
I would say if you can listen in for a few minutes until you have to go, that way if you do have any input, but when you have to go, we understand.
Yeah. And my court hearing might be very short. It could be a 5-minute hearing and I could bounce right back. But we all know how court goes. Sometimes they're a half an hour behind. So I'll just play it by ear then.
Sounds great.
Okay. All right. Well, good morning again, everybody. You got the board packet. We've had one last minute that the information got sent off for Thomas Holbrook at 911 6th Street South that we can bring forward. He's going to be calling in at 10 o'clock. Otherwise, like I said, if you have any questions on anything before we get started, you saw the sales that we had. We did have a time trend of 2.24 or 2.359%. So there was some changes that were done overall to equalize the values. We did receive some phone calls this year, but most of the information we gave them, and we're able to explain everything out to them, and everything was good. So we have Opal coming today. We have a cleanup from Alliance Bank, Dennis Bianchi, and then again that Thomas Holbrook. I don't have a whole lot today. The call log, like I said, we've all received a few phone calls, but sales have been crazy, like you know, and I've been seeing that everywhere. It isn't just our county. So every time you go out and check the sales to see where they're at, they're pending or contingent or something, and within 24 hours, it's like. Does anybody have any questions for me at all?
It's open to the general public?
Yes. Well, yeah.
Okay.
Is someone on the line?
Yes.
Can I ask who's there?
Daryl Berg?
Daryl Berg?
Yes.
Are you calling in regards to a property?
Yes.
Okay, where's the property located at?
302 Monument?
Okay, have you talked to anybody in the office at all prior to this?
No, I'm new to New Ulm, and I just got this information to call at 9 o'clock today.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just looking to see when the last time we were at your house. In 2020, it looks like Jim went over the information with someone. When did you purchase this? You purchased this in 2018?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So a little bit of, we have not, it's been a while, it looks like, since we've been in your home. So before, we do have an appointment that starts at 9:15 with someone. But it looks like it's been, oh boy, I'm just looking back here. It's probably been since before, early 2000s that maybe anybody's been in your house. 1999 was even an exterior, so,
Okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of explains for the big jump this coming year, I guess.
Well, let's see, added 5 years, low average. It looks like there was some changes made from the exterior, and some of the let's see, change from fair to low average. So it looks like your home was in as like a fair condition, but then they changed it to low average. But like I said, you would be on the agenda at like 9:15 or 10:15, I should say, for today. We take all the call-ins or the appointments that we had first, and then the call-ins fall in after. So are you able to hang on the line at all, or?
Till 10:15?
Yes. Yeah, we have appointments. We have appointments for this, or you could call back in.
Yeah, I think I'll call back in 'cause I'm not sure where my schedule will land me right about that time.
Okay. All right. Is that okay with you as a board, or?
I'm okay with it.
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. All right. So yeah, around, if you want to call in a little after 10 o'clock to make sure, then can I have a phone number for you, Daryl?
Yeah, 989
Okay.
395
Okay.
4494.
Okay. Thank you. And we'll just, yeah, like I said, a little after 10.
I'm not necessarily trying to feel, since I'm new to this, I'm just wondering where all the numbers showed up or what my anticipated tax will be for the 22 year. That's pretty much what I'm looking at.
Okay. Yeah, this meeting isn't in regards to the taxes, it's just in regards to the value because the levies have not been set yet for pay 2022. So what happens is with the Department of Revenue, we're required to be between 90 and 105% of the value with a sales ratio when properties sell. And if we are not, the state can come in and put on a state increase. So we come around once every 5 years.
Okay.
Also, and then we also do a sales study. So with New Ulm, we had a time trended ratio of 91.3. So we did some changes. With a time trend of 2.23, we ended at 92.17. But again, we do come around once every 5 years.
Okay.
And reappraise the neighborhoods.
Okay.
Okay?
So although the new tax isn't ready, can I still find out what it would be based on this year's taxes then?
We could talk, if you're wanting to know what the taxes would be, we could talk after the meeting, I guess. Or you could call over to the auditor treasurer's office and they could give you an estimate of tax.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. So, is Opal on the line? Do you know? Are you able to tell? Okay. I will be sending out a link for the training coming up this year too, if Eric is interested in taking it. Oh, can I give her the information? Oh, okay. We just found Opal called into our office here, so Diane Dunn is giving Opal the information to call in.
So, Ann, do we have all 5 city councilors online?
No. I have Andrea, Dave, and Larry, and you.
Okay, just wondering, because I hadn't heard Eric say anything about it.
Yeah, I'll just send out like I said, I'll just send out the training information for him, so if he wants to take it, he can. It's just nice to have more than one trained member. I did have a jurisdiction lose their board this year because they didn't have a trained member. The trained member isn't on they had a trained member, but then he must not have ran this time, and so they lost their board. So
From what you said, we have 3 now, right?
yes, well, Larry too. He didn't show, he must be on the list somewhere else. Sometimes they show up in different places, so
Okay.
you guys are good to go. But it's just nice to have that training when you're a new board member.
Yep.
As counselor.
So this is Diane. I just spoke with Opal. She had called my office line, but I did give her the conference number and the login, so she should be calling in.
Actually, I'm there. I'm here.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, Opal, the floor is yours.
Okay. Okay, where do I start? Just kind of review what's going on.
Sure.
Okay, well, my dispute is the apartment house that I own. The value of it went up $15,000 in 1 year. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with the building. It's located at the corner of Center and Valley Street. And I don't know, about 10 years ago, the city in its infinite wisdom decided to put up a gas main on the boulevard in front of the building. We never had a clue as to what was going on. One day we get down there and here they're digging a great big hole in the boulevard. While later up comes this big gas main natural gas pipe sticking about, 5 feet out of the ground. And then, when they started up, all of a sudden this thing is making all kinds of horrible noises. At that time, my husband and I complained to the city, hey, what's going on? I mean, we've got, it's a 4-unit apartment house. We've got people living there. And so the city decided that, to muffle the noise, they would put this building over the top of the gas main. Okay. And that worked. I mean, it did cut down on the noise. But the hazard of having a gas main right in front of the building is still there. It has been hit by a truck once already that lost it coming down Center, hit the, those protective pylon, or whatever you want to call them, in front of the building, pushed them over, hit the building, dented it. Luckily, the truck wasn't loaded, so it just dented the building. My fear has always been that if a loaded truck on an icy street, and there's a lot of truck traffic coming through that area, both from AMPI, Firmenich, and a lot of them going out to Dietrich and to the trucking firms, so there's a lot of truck traffic. And if a loaded truck loses it and hits that building, ruptures the pipe, you can about imagine what would happen. So I feel that, to be perfectly honest, if I tried to sell that building, I can't imagine anybody wanting to buy it with that hazard right in front of it. I've had fantastic renters there. They've been with me for many, many years, mainly because I keep the rent cheap. It's very cheap. It's probably the cheapest in town, but the renters stay put. So this value going up of $15,000 is just totally unreasonable in my mind. And so that's my problem. Any questions?
Opal, that was installed this last year?
You mean the gas main?
Yeah, when was that put in?
I don't remember. I'd say it's close to 10 years ago, between 5 and 10 years ago.
That's been a good
Okay.
10 years since that's been there.
And the value of that building has always been very low. Until all of a sudden from 2020 to 2021, it went up 15,000. Up until then, it's always been low.
All right, thank you.
And I've got a question. When's the last time anybody's been in the building?
I'm gonna defer that to Di. Diane Dunn, she can look here for you.
Yeah, I can look. The last time it was reviewed in our quintile was 2019, but that was just an exterior. But let me look here. The last time we were in it was in 2014. And according to our notes, 2004 is when that gas line was put in.
Okay, so my guess was about right.
Yep.
I mean, the thing was, we were never, ever notified that anything was going on down there. We just got down there, and all of a sudden they're digging this big hole. And when we protested, the city said, well, they would temporarily put a building over it, but this was a temporary fix. And, okay, we were never again notified of any other meetings, except I read in the paper at the next month's city council meeting, it was decided that this was going to be a permanent solution.
And Opal, up until this point, you didn't have any issues with the assessment of the home based on that?
Right, that's right, yes. The assessments have been, I don't know, right around upper 40s, around 50 maybe, I think was the highest. I kind of checked back a number of years, and 50 was the highest.
Okay, and did your property value decline then when this was placed near your property?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
Did the property value decrease? Did your value decrease when this was placed near your property? Do you remember that?
To be honest, no, I don't remember.
Okay.
My husband took care of those things, so I guess I really didn't pay a lot of attention.
Okay. And did you receive the information on the summary from the appraiser about why your value had changed?
No.
Okay. Do you mind if I read that to you?
I'm assuming it's because there's a house next to us going down towards the river that recently sold, and it's a nice it's a nice home. And I'm assuming that's maybe why the property values went up, but that's just an assumption on my part.
Do you mind if I read the summary that the appraiser put together for your parcel?
No, fine.
Okay. All right. So the appraiser summary says that 120 Center Street, New Ulm, was last reviewed during the 2019 quintile. This was a multifamily year. So this is when they assess multifamily residences, which is what your the 120 Center Street is, correct? It's a multifamily? You have apartments there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This property, along with other multifamily properties, saw an increase in value after reviewing sales and equalizing across the city. So what they're doing, Opal, is they're kind of comparing your multifamily residence to other multifamily residences that have sold. So 120 Center Street stands comparable to others in regards to value per unit and does not have a downward adjustment due to the gas line / building. The comparables at 102 Center Street and 28 North Front Street are in similar neighborhood with increased truck traffic. So what they did is took some other multifamily residences and just compared the building value. And so as another example, we have a multifamily home on 100 South Minnesota Street that was valued, let me see, at 64. And it
Well,
look,
that's South Minnesota. The reason that I'm disputing the whole value of it is because of that gas main. I mean, there is just no way that anyone would. What would you put there with that kind of a hazard right in front of on the boulevard, right in front of the building? That's the reason I realize that the value of other buildings around have gone up. But because of the gas main right in front of my building, it's not worth a darn, to be perfectly honest. There's nobody that would buy it with that kind of a hazard.
right, but it is expected to increase proportionally based
I
on,
don't see how it can, because it's different from any other building that's in the area. Though I must say, I think the other buildings would have a problem too if that gas main was ever hit. But mine would be the major one.
right, I understand that. But as other property values go up, yours kind of goes along with that, and this is simply a proportional increase based on what the estimated
Wait a
market
minute, I've
value.
lost you.
Can you hear us?
I've lost you.
Oh, I still hear you, Opal, I think.
Oh, I'm not hearing you.
Oh, can you hear me, Opal?
Right now I can, yes.
Okay, this is Anna at the assessor's office. Is anybody on the city council? Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good. Yeah, my dispute is just because of the gas main. It's a hazard if a truck did hit it already. If a loaded truck would hit it, that whole thing would blow up. You know it would. Look what happened to that school down in the cities when they hit a gas main. It blew up half the school and killed a couple of people. And that is certainly my problem down there. Any comments?
This is Dave Christian. I suppose, Opal, you don't have the sheet that we do in front of us comparing all these other units in that area, the price
No,
per
I
unit?
do not. No. And my contention is that you cannot compare them because of that gas main in front.
I've got a
Yes?
question for you. So Opal's request is to lower the value to, suggested to 45,000. Where would that put us on the price per unit?
So overall, she wants
Yeah.
overall it would be 45,000?
Yeah, if I'm reading her application here, what would our price per square foot come out to? Because right now you've got $9,575 per unit.
So if we did 45,000 overall, divided by 4. Oh, that's building only.
So,
Just a second here.
yeah.
So if I can just interject, sorry, Ann, I've got
It's
the
okay,
info
good.
up.
Thank you.
So if we would go back to, so what Opal's value was back in pay 2020 was 43,200. So similar to the 45, it would be 5,600 a unit.
Okay. So that does,
versus the 9,500.
yeah, so what I'm looking at, that puts us about $4,000 less per unit, and then I'm just kind of looking at the units and the number of square feet that she has. On the comparables that were given, she's got the second less of the square feet, and on those aspects. So,
Opal, I would also like to ask if you feel that your property value being what it was in years past with the gas line there, it's been assessed with that in place. and it's continuing to be assessed with that in place. It's just that there's been an increase now based on some recent property sales and changes in the market. And so there really actually hasn't been a change in that being installed. It's been there. And so the assessment is continuing based on that unit being there. There was not consideration given prior, and there's not consideration being given now, so that has not changed. It's just that, again, the value has changed based on some of the market conditions.
Right.
And recent sales. Does that make sense to you?
Yes,
Okay.
I fully understand why the value went up, but I'm saying that you're comparing apples to oranges because you just cannot compare my building to the others because of that gas main. It's a major hazard to the building, and obviously it's not something that the city is going to change. It's there permanently. So it's a permanent hazard to that building.
But it was there
Compared
last
to
year,
the
correct?
other, building. You know, you were comparing the price to South Minnesota apartment. Well, that's way up. That's a block away up on the hill. That is not going to be affected by that gas main.
Sure.
All right.
It's just the gas main that I'm saying has decreased the value of the building. Maybe that's the simplest way of putting it.
Correct. And the main has been in place since 2004?
Yes.
Okay.
And the value of the building has basically stayed the same. It's fluctuated
Right.
a
Yes.
bit, but not the 15,000 that it went up for this past year.
Right. But that's just the conditions of the market and what prices have been for comparable. So,
What I'm saying is you cannot compare them.
but this is the information that is used to compare, and that main's been in place, and you haven't questioned it since 2004.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Right.
actually we did talk to the city council at that time, actually asking can they get rid of that pipe. Well, no. Our answer was basically that no, it's there permanently. So the agreement, kind of off-the-cuff agreement, was that yes, this pipe is there permanently, but we won't increase the value of your, and they haven't. It's fluctuated a little bit, but not very much up until this past year when, granted, the housing market has gone through the roof, and I realized that a lot of the other buildings are selling or at least considered to be worth more than they were. But what I'm saying is because of that gas main, my building is still not worth anything. There's nobody that, what would you put there? If I wanted to sell that, what possible thing? I mean, this is a very, very, very old building. And I can't imagine if I sold it that anybody would want to buy it. If they did, they would probably tear it down. But what would you put there with that gas main in front of it? What possible bill want to be locating there?
Opal, Dave Christian again. You know, I understand your concerns and whatnot, but just a couple minutes ago, you stated that you had long-term tenants living there, and apparently they're not concerned with the gas issue.
Well, that's because I'm sure if you check, I've got the lowest rent in all of the city at those units. And it's simply because, the tenants, they were there, I think they were all there before this gas main went in. I haven't had any changes since then. And Yeah, they consider it home, and the rent is very, very reasonable. They know darn well that there's no place else they could possibly go and live for what I charge them.
Right, and I understand that. I mean, that's not our business, or the issue at stake today is you're trying to tell us you don't think your property is worth that. In my mind, I watch property close and whatnot, down the block from you, the value of that property. I mean, it's too bad you don't have the sheet in front of you showing the comparison that we're using, where you are actually the second lowest value on the total sheet. I wish you had that in front of you.
Okay. And and this is just off the cuff, but I wonder how many of the people that own those other buildings actually know what's under that little building on my boulevard. I doubt if anybody even knows what's there.
That one I can't answer. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either, but I suspect they do not.
Chair, are we gonna reconcile on these decisions and go on to our next appointment for 9:30 to stay in order and then get our decision, go through them all?
That's up to you as a board, how you want to handle those.
I would look to reconcile.
So do you want us to go on to the one at the 9:30?
I think that we've heard the information that we need to from Mrs. Dewanz, so I'm fine with moving ahead unless there are any other comments.
Okay. Opal, if you want to stay on the line, you can. Otherwise, I'll be sending a letter out after the city council makes their decision.
Yeah, that's fine. No, I'll hang up. But okay, so you will let me know what their decision is.
Yep, I'll send a letter in the mail today.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks, Opal.
Thank you for your time.
Yep,
Thank
thank
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Next, we have some cleanup for Alliance Bank. I'll let Di take the floor here.
Yeah, so, Bob Ryder had called in, as you know now, that old Alliance Bank is empty, and the FDIC had required an appraisal done, and he received the appraisal back and just had some questions in regards to what it appraised at and our value and et cetera. After reviewing the appraisal, I noted there was a discrepancy in the appraisal's basement square footage and ours. So Bob actually let Ann and I in, being that it was empty, and we remeasured that basement square footage. And it should actually be adjusted. And the value for 2021 was $562,400. With changing that basement square footage, it changes the value to $548,100. We visited with Bob, and he was fine with that adjustment and what the value was.
Thank you.
So it's basically just a correction on our end.
Do you need a formal approval, any of your change, or not from us?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Okay, I'll motion to accept and approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Would we call the roll here?
Yep.
Okay. And who calls the roll? Do you call the roll?
Kim would.
All right. Ms. Samuelson, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack,
Yes.
Counselor Christian,
Yes.
President Becker,
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you.
So we have some time between now and the next person calling in. If you want to go back and visit with, look at Opal's again, we have, unless Mr. Bianchi is on the line. Oh, I know. So if you would want to go back and revisit Opal's, you could.
I would be
or we can
fine.
wait. It's up to you. It's your meeting.
Well, we have about 10 minutes. Why don't we do
For
it?
this in between the next call. I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. I think based on the appraisal value, the subject, the comparables, that this is in line. I understand her concerns with the location of the gas main, and, but it's been in place since 2004. That hasn't, as far as we know, it has not been questioned, her tax value. And I just see this as the increase that everyone is experiencing on their market values. And would be looking for any other comments.
I guess my thoughts are, I'm looking at the square footage, and I'm looking at the drastic increase on her property. And if last year we were right around 43, and we went from 43 up to, we're seeing 58 here now, I would be, and she's got 2 one-bedroom and 2 two-bedroom, and it is not a huge structure with 1,760 square feet. So it is fairly small.
Sure.
My out loud says 50,000. We're compromising, and I guess we're compromising because we don't know of any significant improvements to the property, and we could say a little bit for the gas main in front of the property. That's my thoughts.
If we state that now, will that affect things moving forward? And how does that work? Because the appraisal says that stands comparable to others in regards to value per unit and does not have a downward adjustment due to the gas line building. If we make an exception to this, would that be in place moving forward then? I mean, could that be something that they could say moving forward, that it's reduced because of this? That's just a question I have.
And I don't have a calculator in front of me, to do any of these. What percentage does hers jump?
I can't hear you. What was that?
I don't have a calculator. What percentage did Opal property jump?
What percentage?
Right.
Okay, just a second here.
It does seem significant, and I would think that there's some room for a small amount of room, but.
So this is Diane. So I just did the calculation. It was approximately 26%. So the value jump was actually for pay 21. The value stayed steady for pay 22. And Opal knew that she was not in the right time frame to dispute 21's values.
Okay.
But she still wanted to for 2022. And the average on this property has been around 50,000. It did decrease for a couple of years, but again, we go around every 5 years and kind of reevaluate. And the sales, like I have on the spreadsheet, really did indicate that she was a little on the low side. And kind of up to us to make sure everything's equal across the board.
Has there been any significant improvements or remodeling to the building, or has it just been status quo, just maintained?
It's just been, as far as I know, we haven't been in it since 2014. So.
Okay.
But the comparables as well are all similar conditions.
This is Counselor Becker. Is there a way to kind of, I know broadly, just get an average of approximately the increase that, generally speaking, New Ulm residents experienced on their values this year? Because 26% does seem pretty high. I know, mine had gone up significantly, but 26 seems high. I was thinking more like that 15 to 18% maybe.
Actually, when we come around and do multifamily, that's the time where we go, when Di went around in 2019 to do multifamily, that's when we revalue.
Mm-hmm.
So not necessarily everybody's going to see the same increase when it comes to that review.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to make sure everybody's falling into line where they should be. So some may see more of an increase than others. So did all multifamily go up that year, 20-some%? No.
Okay.
It's just trying to equalize the values out.
Mm-hmm.
making sure they fall in place, where they should be. Or where we feel they should be.
And you said,
Same when we do residential, you know, you might not see as much of an increase as your neighbor. It just depends, or if you got, that area gets revalued and we come across different things, or we equalize you with someone else.
and you said that her value for this property was in that $50,000 range within the past couple of years. It's just been a little bit lower recently.
Yes, so for case 17, 18, and 19, it was actually a dip down into the 40s.
Okay.
But really, prior to that, it hovered in around 50, in the 50,000s.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's, so it dipped down for a couple of years. Really, it's a jump, but it's kind of back to where it was. And again, it just fits with everything else around it. The 102 Center Street and 28 North Front Street are kind of the bigger indicators. 102 Center Street on the other corner of the block sold 7 years ago for $15,000 a unit. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Larry, I agree. It needs to go down. You know.
Well, I can throw a motion out and see if it goes anywhere.
Before, Larry, you said you're taking it back to the 50?
Yes. You know, we don't have enough information to base any significant improvements because it hasn't been reevaluated. If I heard correctly, 2014 was the last time anybody went in and reevaluated it. And Opal hasn't indicated any changes. And I'm sure she's trying to get this in check because she hasn't raised her rent. She's trying to keep it affordable yet occupied. And so those are my thoughts.
I guess I'm all right with that happy medium. We're meeting her the halfway with her request and ours. I'm all right with that.
So I'm going to offer a motion to reduce to 50,000, and the county will then assess that by the square footage per unit, and we'll get a total per unit. That's my motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Ms. Samuelson, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack.
Yes.
Counselor Christian.
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. And it looks like,
Sorry.
no, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Next on the agenda, we have Dennis Bianchi. Dennis, are you on the line?
I believe Nicole's checking if he is here.
Okay.
Not here.
Okay. He doesn't appear to be here. Are we able to just go ahead and move forward with some discussion?
Well, he was planning on calling in, wasn't he? Yeah, so
When I talked to him, I did tell him I put him on for 9:45 and then sent him the consideration form that he got back to me with his information.
Well, maybe we'll,
he did send a letter, so you could, because of the fact even if he isn't on the phone, he did send the letter, so you can review
Sure.
that, consider the appeal that way.
we have the letter? I
Have the-
I don't have a letter, I have a consideration form.
Yeah,
Yep, that's it. The
Okay.
consideration, yeah, we call it a letter. So yeah, the consideration form that you have, yep, we can use that as his appeal.
Okay.
So Di, if you wanna, I guess, maybe what he talked about.
Yeah, so when Dennis called in, he was just concerned about his value, kind of in regards to his neighborhood. I did let him know one thing we look at first is if he fits with the sales, because again, we really have to follow those sales. I did send over a comp sheet that you should have as well. He's sitting actually lower than sales this past year. Similar properties, similar condition. But he still wanted to appeal, so I sent him the form, and it looks like he wants to decrease the value by $8,000. He does bring up the cul-de-sac and how his backyard has a slope, and that wasn't in our original conversation. So I wasn't able to tell him that the cul-de-sac isn't valued, and you can see that on the aerial. And the backyard has a gentle slope, but it's nothing that we would adjust for. So,
I'm on here now, too. Yep.
Okay, hi Dennis. This is Ann up at the assessor's office.
Okay. Yeah, we just got tuned in here now, so.
Okay.
okay.
I think you've gone over the photos and all the other things and stuff, right?
Just started. If you want to state your appeal.
Well, okay, well, the biggest thing I think is, first of all, we got, other houses in the neighborhood are valued a lot less than ours is. I know we talked about this different areas, different, but like, we've also got some things like our siding, for instance, that definitely need a repair. Well, you talked about the slope stuff again on the garden. I guess the big thing is I just don't think our house is valued should be valued that much more than our neighbors' houses around. Every one of them is valued less. Last year you raised the crop. We went up from 227,500. You raised it to 36. I think you should have stayed at 27.
Do you have any any information besides the pictures and the let's see what else you have on here. Oh, the house needs residing, the cul-de-sac cuts into your property, you said. The backyard has a very steep slope, and then you attach the photographs.
One of the things about the cul-de-sac is, I realize you probably took it off, but it also cuts in that part of the lot that's extruding out from that. You can't do much on that lot because we don't have a square lot.
All right, Dennis, this is Dave Christian on the board, but that was explained to you, right? You're not taxed on the cul-de-sac. That's actually public right-of-way.
You're taxed on your area of the property, right?
Correct. I mean, the cul-de-sac is not taxable. That is actually city right-of-way.
Right. So how are we taxed here? Then, where the cul-de-sac cuts back in, there's a part of the lot protrudes out. That's still part of our lot, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, that's actually, in my mind, I look at the photograph. Hang on a second.
Right here, this one, you can see it goes around. That's his parcel that he's
Right.
taxed. So this part, not taxed.
Right. But I mean, if you kind of go with me with the picture you submitted, that the front part of your property abutting the street, excluding the cul-de-sac, from the picture I'm seeing was actually used as your setback area. You wouldn't be allowed to use that property anyway. You follow what I'm saying?
It's an irregular parcel.
You're figuring the size of our property, you're figuring that in with this, well, what is the setback in the front? 20 feet or something like that?
I believe it's 30.
30, okay. But the setback goes from where the cul-de-sac curves back in, whereas if the cul-de-sac didn't curve back in, we'd have more property up front, right?
Well, correct. I mean, but when it was platted, I mean, and you buying the house or acquiring it, I mean, your lot, you know, you knew when you bought the lot, it was 11,130 square feet. I guess I don't know which way you're going with the property tax value with the cul-de-sac.
Taxation process is, they go by the area of your lot, right?
Correct.
That's what I'm saying, the front part of the lot is cut back quite a bit, so the area is not as valuable, but I feel like.
It's an irregular parcel.
So I'm here, Denny, this is Counselor Mack, and how I'm seeing it is, yes, the cul-de-sac does cut into your lot, but we're still basing off of a square footage. And it's 11,000 and some square feet. I don't know what the parcel right next door, Mr. Arnold's is. It's drastically bigger because it doesn't have that cut into it. But
That's what I'm saying.
if that's how I'm trying to hear what you're saying.
But I guess the lot isn't everything either as far as evaluation goes. So what I'm getting at is the valuation on our house, I think is just too high.
Okay.
Hey, Denny, Counselor Christian again, do you have the sheet number 4, those other houses that have sold in the past, you know, with the square footage, what they allowed for them?
No, I don't have that sheet anymore. We looked at it last fall, but some of them were as high as $15,000 less than ours were.
Yeah.
The sheet,
Every house in this cul-de-sac here is, I think they're pretty close in value, because some people have, talking to the assessor, some people have front porch and stuff like that, that all makes a difference in value to the house.
Ann, is it possible that you could pull up a couple of the neighbors' houses while we're discussing this and see what it comes out per square foot for that upper Wallachel? To see if we're in check with the price per square foot? Because based off the information that we've been received for comparable sales that they've submitted to us, you're at the bottom end of the price per square foot. And, you know, you're stating your neighbors are different. We don't have that information in front of us. So that's, and if Ann could pull that up of what
Comparable houses, but comparable houses where at though? I mean, different sections of town, the property's more valuable, right?
Well,
Or less, right?
Dennis, I have one here at 1017 Lower Wallachel Lane, and it was a sale comparable number 1, and that went out at $79.87 a square foot. And we have yours at $65.78 a square feet. And that's a block away or so, maybe 2 from where you're at, but I don't know. Anna's at,
What about,
oh, go ahead.
what about Tom Hilbert's house? I figure his house is worth as much as mine is. Do you have his,
Which house was that?
Tom Hilbert?
We're going to be discussing that one at 10 o'clock. That's that one.
no, that's Halbert.
Tom Halbert. Oh, I'm sorry, Denny. So I guess without Ann bringing up,
So who do you,
This is
go ahead,
Diane.
go ahead, Kim.
So I've actually got his, the Huber's property pulled up. Sorry to interrupt, but that, his house is on at $72.30 a square foot.
What's the total value of his house?
The total value is $193,800, but again, there's different factors. We go off of building square footage, but then you have additional, some garages are smaller, larger, the lots, if there's a deck, if there isn't a deck. But the building itself is valued at $72.30 a square foot.
Well, I was looking at his total valuation, it was like 200-some thousand, wasn't it?
193,800.
Total valuation?
Yep, but again, with houses having different features, what we like to do is really narrow it down and just compare building to building, because lots can be different sizes, garages can be, there can be decks, fireplaces, etc.
What about that siding house that's much bigger square foot?
But I mean, I'm looking at these houses, and I'm sure when they come for sale, some of them are gonna be pretty close in price to what ours is, and I know what you're saying on the square footage stuff, that sometimes the square footage isn't everything.
They still there?
You still there yet?
Oh, yep. Does the city council, do you have any more questions, or?
And when was the last time staff has been in there to look at Mr. Bianchi's property?
It was 2018.
Okay.
And so I'm the appraiser for the area, so I was through the house in 2018.
Okay.
But you know, and since then, our siding has deteriorated quite a bit. We need to do something with the siding this summer. And what I'm getting at is if we do put different siding or dirt or whatever it is, then the value's gonna go up again, right?
Well,
So
it depends. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, it does depend. But new siding is considered an improvement, and we do have to look at all improvements every year as well. And consider if it's new construction or not, is what we call it. It's the value that we place on improvements to the house.
Well, that's what I mean. It's gonna up the value of the house more yet. That's why I'm saying it should be lower now, and then if you put siding on or something, whatever you do with it, then the value's gonna go up again. And I understand that.
Mr. Bianchi, this is Counselor Bedger. And I understand your concerns about wanting to kind of try to compare the values of your house versus your neighbor's house in the same cul-de-sac. And they do take into consideration the location, but some of the other things that are taken into consideration, especially if we were to value or if you were to sell your home, is what they do is they look for comparable properties. So those of similar quality, similar size, similar time that it was built or improved upon. And that's some of the information that we do have in front of us now. And in comparison, the closest comparable value per square foot was $74.65, and it was as high as $91.24 per square foot. So you were significantly on the lowest end per square foot based on comparable homes. So I understand you're in the same neighborhood, but not every house going around is going to be the same. And so that is,
I understand that too, what you're saying there and stuff, but
right.
I mean, if you compared our house size that we had right in this area here, I guess, that's what I'm getting at. Then we get a comparable one. Is there a comparable one in this area? Exactly like ours?
Well, there was recently a sale at 1017 lower Wallachel Lane, and that was, again, $79.87 per square foot, and you're at 65.78. So for comparison, they have slightly more square foot, and they were built in 93, where your home was built in 92. But generally speaking, it appears to be pretty similar. And that was less than a quarter mile from your home.
Yeah.
And that was on September 25th, 2020. So within the past 8 months.
I know what you're talking about. I guess I don't remember the house specifically. I've been out that area right and stuff, but I don't remember the house specifically. But I don't know, do they have a deck out front, or what else has they got out going for them? They must have got other things going for them, I don't know.
Right. Well, we do need to stay on task with this. Is there any other comments that you have? Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and look for a
And that's only what the decision is, or what?
Yep, this is Ann up at the assessor's office, and once, when the city council votes on this, then I will send you a letter.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Danny.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Mr. Holbrook.
Yes.
And Di and Sheena, maybe do you wanna?
Yeah. So, good morning, Tom.
Good morning.
So Tom's father's home was on Sheena's Quintile this past year. And it was thought to have had living space above the garage. So that's what we added for. Tom called in regards to the value change increase and had stated there is no living space above that garage. And he was nice enough to send us pictures that we got this morning. Again, thank you. So on the form that I sent to the council, the changing the garage back to just an attached garage with the extra height, our value change would go back to $137,200. It's not going to go back exactly to what your previous year's value was because we did have some market changes based on sales.
Right. But that seems a little more reasonable than what it went up to 164. So.
Right. Yep. So basically, we put the garage back to where it was and removed the living space that we had added for above it.
So, Mr.
Okay.
Mr. Holbrook, Dave Christian, just a question. I mean, you're comfortable with that? They're dropping it like $27,000 in value?
That at least that way. I think the increase was due to, an error as far as what living space was, I believe. Just to bring it back down to what would be within reason. Right.
All right.
Okay.
I mean, in other words, if we don't even really have to accept this, right? They redid it. It went back to 137,233.
I think we'd have to
Just accept it?
formally accept it. If you want to issue a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the change that the county gave us on 911 6th Street South, New Ulm, Thomas Holbrook, stated at $137,233 in value, assessment value.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Ms. Samuelson, please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion carries.
So Tom, you understand we just reduced it to 137,233?
Right.
Okay.
That would change it for this year plus the future years, and I think too. That's correct.
Correct.
Yeah, with the market, so we'll change it back with that on the unfinished area upstairs, and then
Okay.
Then as we'll just follow the market going forward. If there's any changes
Right.
in the value, typically then it's from the market.
Okay. This still has to go through the full council too, or
No.
that
This
process?
is-
This
Or?
one, no.
Yep, nope, this
Nope.
is the meeting, so
Okay.
I'll send you a letter. I'll send your dad a letter, so just watch for
Super.
that. All right?
That sounds good.
Thanks,
Okay.
Tom.
Thank you.
And, anything further from me then you need at all, or?
I don't. This is Ann at the assessor's office. I don't, unless the city council has any other questions for you.
I'm good.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Bye. Andrea, just to let you know, I'm back online.
Oh,
Okay.
welcome back.
Okay, We have one more that called in, during the meeting here that I had to quick call her back. Mary Ellen or Paul, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Mary Ellen Shaughness is calling in. For those of you that are familiar from 2018, they came to the board in regards to I don't know, which parcels are you wanting to talk about today, Mary Ellen?
Do you want the property ID numbers?
Yes, please.
Okay, R001 002 124 08 080
Okay,
and R001 002 124 08 080
nope,
That's the same
07070?
808 080.
Okay, just that one parcel?
The two of them.
The two of them. So the one is 001 002 124 07 070. And then,
No, not this. No, it's not 7. It's 8.
Yep. Okay.
I'm hearing you say 7.
Yeah, I did say 7 because you were saying the two parcels, so it's just the one with the 001, 002, 124, 08, 080, because there's two parcels in that hillside, or actually 3.
Okay, but I've got 2 different tax statements.
Your value notice? Okay, so why don't you read them over again, just to make sure we have the right one?
You know what? I think I did goof up.
Okay.
Okay, let's do the second one. I'm reading off of 2 statements. Okay, the second one. Yes, it is the 07070. So you're right. Yeah, those 2.
So the two parcels are 001, 002, 124, 07, 070, and then 08080. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So, so for those of you that were on City Council in 2018, Mary Ellen and Paul brought these lots forward for an adjustment in regards to value. At that time, the City Council voted to reduce the value of those lots to $3,500 each for those 2 lots, which would be 42 cents a square foot. There was some sales down on German Street, and I've talked to Mary Ellen in regards to these before. I'll give you a little background, and then Mary Ellen can speak since you didn't get any, since we just talked this morning. There was some sales down on German Street, but I'll let Mary Ellen speak on this.
You ready for me?
Yep. Do you have anything to add?
The one thing you had told me this morning was that these 2 lots on South German were unbuildable and a bunch of different criteria. Those lots on South German have a street, curb, and gutter. You can walk right up to them. My lots you can't get to unless you're going to go through my property. Okay. There's no street access to them at all.
Okay, I got a question for Ann. Dave Christian, I remember this from a couple of years ago, but give me numbers now. I know the lots you're talking about on German Street.
Okay. So, yep. So what we did, so back then those lots had sold for 59 cents a square foot on German Street. Now, different neighborhoods have different land lines. That's all part of our process of placing values. So we went through, and at that time, Mary Ellen and Paul's lot did not have the 30% adjustment that the ones down on German Street had. So we added those adjustments to that property. So actually their base rate is $3.93 a square foot, but the adjustments bring it down to 69 cents a square foot for those lots, which is a value of, for the parcel that ends in 07070 is a value of $5,700, and the one that ends in 08080 is $5,500. Now back when that was brought to local board, then there was a motion made to reduce the value of those lots to 42 cents a square foot. when I'm looking in the board pack, I brought up the old board packet. We did make the adjustments, and in there we came up with the value 5,700 and 5,500 respectively, with the adjustments that I just had mentioned before. And then at that time, we did it on a different parcel. We reduced the garage for access, but that's on a different parcel. So I guess here again, it's going to be, up to the board here, what they want to do with this parcel, with these two parcels.
I have a question because I was not on the council in 2018. What makes the land there unbuildable?
Topography. It's,
Topography and access to the
there's no
property.
access.
You don't have access. There's 2 vacated streets through that property.
Okay.
Yeah, location, topography, there's all sorts of different things that come into play here
And
with these parcels. And so we actually do have some pretty significant adjustments on there. We have 50% for no access or utilities, 25% for topography, and 30% for being unbuildable. So like I said, our base rate to start with, if you had a typical lot in that neighborhood that had all met the criteria of being buildable and didn't have any other issues, their base rate would be $3.93 a square foot.
Okay, and the other question I have is, okay, what jump? I mean, you didn't give us that.
we didn't get any
Well,
numbers.
okay, so the board made the change. So the board makes the change to the 35, let me look here again. I gotta look at my notes. To $3,500, but that brought it down to 42 cents a square foot. Reassessing everything and trying to equalize the values, they fell out of line the other way when we were looking at values, so we needed to come back to where that 5,600 and the 5,500, I believe, 57, to come back to where they were be equalized with the same adjustments as another type of lot. If you feel that these lots need another adjustment because of where they're located, that's something, like I said, we just felt meeting after this.
I remember the discussion at the last one. I mean, in my mind, we actually said they were almost worthless lots. There's no access, no utilities, no street frontage, non-buildable.
Yeah, and we had I think it was, can't remember the other assessor's name, thought that the road access off of Shells, that could be excavated out, but it's not part of the deal. And I think we had the conversation a little bit with the Shaughnesses about if we could get this all under one parcel, then we wouldn't be back here looking at discussing if there were 2 or 3 buildable lots there, because there is 2 vacated streets in there, and it's all on a significant slope. And I think we discussed, memory back on German Street, that the individual that bought those lots was for lots for their kids to play, and they live across the street from the property down on South German Street. And there was a house there that was removed. In fact, I think the previous owner came to the city wanting us to buy it, and Mr. Christensen, and then ultimately sold it. And it's going to go by supply, but if we hear Mrs. Shaughness speaking, she doesn't have curb or gutter, and you can't get access to the property, and there's no utilities. So I'm fine making an adjustment, but we need to hear some numbers.
Right.
So if you look at the sale of the other lots, they sold at, let me go back here again. They sold at 59 cents a square foot.
The ones on German Street, correct?
Yep, and Shaughnesses are currently on it. And then the adjustment that was given in 2018 was down to 42 cents a square foot, and they're currently on at 68 cents a square foot just because of the like I said, of the neighborhood. That's the land, how we value the land in that area, and then we adjust it downward.
That doesn't change.
So if the city, that's up to the city council if they want to go back to the 3,500 again, or if they want to do something in between.
In my mind, I remember the lots on German. I mean, those technically, it could be built on. There was a house. Today, you could draw a permit to build a house on it. The Shaughness property, in my mind, nothing has changed.
Okay.
I mean, the slope, the non-buildable, no access, no utilities.
I'd like to offer a motion to go back.
Paul or Mary Ellen, do you have a recommendation?
As far as what we should put it, you
You
mean going back to the, I've got a really bad echo here.
Oh, and I'm calling in, so it doesn't help. Do either of you two have a recommendation on the value as we're discussing this? I'm just curious. If you don't,
Well, my biggest problem is it went from 78 all the way down to 35, and now we're back up to 55.
Yep, and the 35 was from the local board change, and then we revalued everything that next year after with those sales.
say those numbers again, Mary Ellen.
It started out at 7,800.
Okay. Yep.
And then when we came in and talked, it went down to 3,500.
That would have been in 2018, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now it's up to 50.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, can you say that one more time? I didn't hear that. It's up to, and you cut out.
Okay, and it started out at 7,800,
I remember that.
and then you put it down to 3,500,
Yep.
and now it's up to 5,500.
Okay, 55. Thank you. I didn't catch that.
And 57 for the
Yep.
other.
All right. In my mind, I don't think anything's changed with it yet.
No, there's been no improvements.
No improvements, no.
You don't have curb and gutter, you don't have access. One parcel.
Well, and I can't get to the if we go to the street, there's a retaining wall there, so there's no way that I could ever get to the street.
Because of the public right-of-way.
Pardon?
That's because of the public right-of-way with the retaining wall on Shell Road there.
Right.
Correct.
I don't
remember the discussion from 2018, and I agree with Dave saying that nothing's changed.
No,
I'm going to offer a motion to reduce this value to $3,500
For
Second.
both of them?
for both of them, correct?
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Mrs. Samuelson, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion carries. Thank you. I would like to make a note, is there anything that can be done to move this into one parcel so that it doesn't need to be revisited? Or is it an advantage to keep it as separate parcels at this point? I mean,
That I
It's
don't.
up to them. If they request to have them combined after taxes paid, those lots could be combined.
because I would assume if they would ever sell the property, they would not want to retain those two parcels. I mean, I don't want to speak for them, but
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, you know,
Okay.
I can't tell you on that, you know.
What would be the benefit to combine them?
Just one tax statement.
Oh, okay.
One legal
It's up
address.
to you. If you want to, you can put in a request and we can do that, but like I said, it's after
Okay.
taxes are paid, so.
Yep. Okay. All right.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Ellen, I'll send you a
Goodbye.
letter. Okay, and then.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anybody else on the line?
I thought I heard somebody come in.
I did too. Is there a Daryl Berg on the line at all? Did he call back? Okay, I must have answered his questions then. All right. So, I think, I think you've gotten
Back to Bianchi.
Bianchi.
Bianchi. Do you need to make a motion on that? I don't have my notes here. My note doesn't have that on there, so.
You know, I'm gonna agree with Mr. Bianchi where, you know, he says the siding needs some TLC there and he's looking at making some improvements, but he wants it reduced before he makes some improvements and does some siding upgrades. But, you know, again, he is on the bottom end of the square footage, but I think he falls in that he's got significant more square footage because of his attached garage. You know, he's got 1,000 square feet attached versus the neighboring one was at 576, and But then again, his lot is smaller, you know, so it kind of goes both ways a little bit, but I'd like to meet him in the middle, you know, if he's asking for 8,000, go at 4,000 and that's my consensus on the parcel. You know, because he pointed out the house on Hohenstein Drive and on Wallachel there, the corner, and it was substantially lower, but, you know, we don't, you know, I mean, he's got the topography of the hill and the siding repairs. That's my thoughts on it.
Okay, question for Ann there, the 2022, we don't have that info in front of us. Okay, what was his last value sent out to him? Because we don't see I don't get to see that increase. Hello?
I'm just looking here, just a second. In assessment 20, page 21, his value is 236,1. And for assessment 21, page 22, it was 2. Did it say this? Looks like it's, wait, I can't get in there. Di's gonna have to, I got locked out.
Yeah, so for assessment 22, his current value is 234,700.
So it actually went down.
A little bit.
It go down slightly.
Okay, that changes my mind.
So I guess it's up to you as a board, you know, how you wanna. We,
I think I know that
a little
house.
bit on
That's
the siding,
huge house.
you know, he's saying his house needs to be resided. We typically don't adjust downwards for that. It's kind of reflected in the effective age that he hasn't done anything to the siding over the year. You know, we don't.
Correct, but
Yeah.
But then, Ann, you make, you know, if he makes improvements on the property, you know, which is maintenance with the siding, you factor that in, correct?
Yeah, going forward, depending on what he does.
Yeah.
And it depends on what the market does, but the market's been crazy right now, so.
Correct. That,
And I try to look at it based on what the current market is, and we all know it's pretty wild in favor of sellers, so.
but here you have an individual that wants to stay in his home and he wants it to be affordable, and then he wants to make improvements.
But you have to remember too, that it's his burden of proof to bring forward,
Correct.
you know, information as to why his value is
Yeah.
overstated, or he feels that it's too high. He's been on that cul-de-sac for a number of years.
Yeah.
I'm just
believe
gonna
he's lived
look
there
up
for a while.
the,
You
I'm
know,
gonna look
that's
up the
his issue.
other values.
And this is Diane, if I can just add. When Denny called in, basically once I started pulling comps, actually he almost appears like he might be undervalued considering the comparable sales last year. He's about $10 a square foot under, if not a little more, and based on the 4 comparables put on the sheet.
And you said that 2021 was actually 236?
Correct.
And the reason it went down? Just curious.
Because, so we had no changes when we did our sales study. We didn't have any significant changes in that neighborhood or that above average condition. So it was, we didn't do a lot of big changes this year. Now going from 2020 to 2021, that's where he saw the increase, but we did more changes for that year.
Okay.
Okay, let's see.
You know, so, yeah, like Di had said, the little bit of the decrease was probably, you know, just some depreciation kicking in.
Both of his neighbors are valued. One's at 232.2, one's at 193.
But now we gotta take the square footage.
So I've got the map pulled up.
So I mean,
So the neighbor to his right, that is right along Hohenstein Drive,
Mm-hmm.
that is 235,900.
Mm-hmm.
And then the neighbor to his left, which is at the top of the cul-de-sac,
190.
is at 232,100.
Okay.
The two homes across the street
Mhm.
are lower, but they're smaller and they aren't as comparable. And they're at 208,300 and 193,800. But like I told Dennis, I'm hesitant to compare full values,
Right.
because you can have different styles of homes, you can have larger lots. We get the most accuracy when we go per building, price per square foot, because everything else then, like a deck or a garage or a fireplace, is then added onto that. And then you have the value of your lot as well, if that makes any sense.
I'm gonna put a motion out here. Les, are you still on?
What's that?
Are you still on?
I'm still on. I'll probably have to abstain from this one since I wasn't part of the initial
Okay.
discussion, so
Okay,
I
okay.
don't think I can vote on this.
I'm gonna offer a motion. You know, Mr. Bianchi would like it reduced by 8,000. My reasoning is to go to 4,000, and mine is gonna be citing, the siding, the wear, and the condition of, the current conditions
Oh,
of the
you're cutting
property.
out, Larry.
Pardon me?
You were cutting out there.
Okay.
It was all garbled.
I'll start over. So it's just Counselor Mack, for Mr. Bianchi's property, I am offering a motion to reduce it by 4,000. Mr. Bianchi was asking for $8,000 reduction. And the reason for my motion is because of the condition of the siding. And we just received the information on the other neighboring homes, but he is already at the lower end of the spectrum for per square foot, but I'm looking for 4,000. I don't know.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Ms. Samuelson, please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
This motion carries. Outside of any,
If I could just ask one question, I'm sorry. So the $4,000, you want that taken off the building value then? Because we have building value, we have lot value, and we have extra feature value.
Building value.
Okay. Thank you.
so it would be 168. Okay. Is there anyone else on the line? All right, with no other business, we will adjourn this meeting.